All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over the PowerPoint presentations for our textbook, Murachs HTML5 and CSS3 3rd edition for the AWD1000 class, and we're in the middle of Chapter 3. And we just saw this, language, class first, etc., class first field, and the tooltip is being shown. When you put your mouse over it, you'll get the little tooltip, okay? All right, for accessibility, always code the language attribute to identify the language for the page. Even though it should default to English, put in lang equals en anyway. Okay, now the key component, the key thing involved in HTML5, the newest, latest, and greatest version of HTML, is the fact that it is semantic. In the past, what has happened is when people wanted to make divisions or break up a page, they use what were called div tags. All right, you still use div tags, but many div tags have been replaced with header, main section, article, nav, aside, and footer. By using these semantic tags, it sends, people would say div, and then they would say ID equal header, div, ID equal main, etc. But by giving them these names, it helps with search engine optimization. So you break it up like this. Now, just so you see this, I'm going to go and grab this, and I'm going to literally just grab all of the code that's in here, the header, the footer, etc. I'm going to grab every bit of that, okay? And you might say, well, fine, why are you doing that? I'm going to show you in just a second. I'm going to go back into our file here, and I'm going to comment out everything that we have in here. All right, I've got another there. Get rid of that. Okay, so now everything that's in there is commented out. Just to prove that, I'm going to come back and run this, and you notice I get nothing. Good. But now I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to paste in exactly what the author had there. So we've got a header tag, we've got a main tag. You don't need to use as much spacing and stuff as I'm doing, but it just makes it easier to read, in my humble opinion. So I'm just, for lack of better words, I'm kind of wordsmithing this to pretty it up a little bit. All right, so I've got a header tag, and that header tag has an H1 tag in it. I've got a main tag that's got a paragraph in it. And I've got a footer on the bottom that, again, has a paragraph in it. All right? But the idea behind this was to show you some of these semantic tags. All right? That's all. Now, it's not going to look very different than a, quote, regular web page, unquote. All right? So, there it is. All right? But the point is, this now is in a header tag, this is in a footer tag, and this is in a main tag. So I've used the semantic elements. That is one of the recommendations with HTML5 and on, like 5.1, etc., and that is that you use these semantic tags. There's other ones. There's a time tag. There's a figure tag that you use with figures. You can add captions to a figure with a fig caption tag. All right. The time tag allows you to put in, so again, let's grab this one. Again, I'm just grabbing their text rather than me having to type in a lot of text. All right, so we will add this. I don't know. We'll add another paragraph here. Now, I don't remember. I may have even copied over the paragraph. I don't know. P tags. And I did. So let me get rid of those P tags. And we'll say, this year's conference will be on, and we will use 2018 And let's use 131, I don't know, 0131. And we'll say January 31st. All right. Now, nothing magical happens here because we added time tags, but it allows the system to know that this is a time value. That's all, which can matter, especially if we end up doing things where we might, for example, do something. And there it is. This year's conference will be on January 31st with time zones or whatever. All right. Again, I'm just trying to go over some of this stuff for completeness so you at least have had an initial exposure to it. All right. Figures, I'm not going to run through right now. This is a really bad example because figures are usually pictures. All right. Divs and spans. Now, the author says here, use div tags only when the HTML semantic elements don't apply. Use span tags for identifying content, okay, etc., that don't apply. Well, let's take a look at examples. All right, there's a div tag, there's a span tag. All right, that's not a good span example, but this is the way it used to be done. So rather than having a header tag here, you said div ID equals header. Rather than having a main tag, you said div ID equal main, rather than having a footer tag. So these divs have been replaced with their semantic counterparts. Now, I don't like the span example that they show here, so it gives me a chance to break out of here a little bit to show you. I'm going to go out to, in fact, I'll do a search here, span tag. And one of the things that comes up is w3schools.com. This is such a terrific site for learning things. All right, so I'm going to grab their example here and just modify it a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to add another paragraph here, and it's going to sound kind of strange that I'm doing it this way, but I'm doing it for effect. And I'm going to say once upon a time. Once upon a time, ... Okay? Nothing magical happens with this. So if I run this, I just get once upon a time ... No biggie. All right, but I'm going to add this. So I want to say this, span. All right. So span, style equal, and I'm going to say here, font size 48 pixels. Okay? Then I'm going to end the span tag. What did I do? Why did I do it? Watch the all in once. Is that pretty obvious what I just did? So span tags are typically what you use in the middle of a sentence or a paragraph or whatever to change something. All right, so if I want to add some special, this is actually adding some special CSS, but just to a letter. There's other ways I could have done this, but that's probably the easiest way. All right, and I think that my example sticks out a heck of a lot more than the one the author showed. Not saying that I'm better than the author, please don't think that, because I'm not. All right. So typically when you set up a website, you're going to end up breaking your website up into different files and folders. And we're going to go over this because what I hope to do is to start building a website, and we will end up doing this as a class, but I'm also going to do it ahead of time. I have no idea what I'm going to do it on yet or what it's going to look like. All right, an absolute URL starts with either HTTP, HTTPS, or FTP, but it's got a full path name. A relative URL starts typically with a slash or a ... but it's based off of where you currently are. So if I want to go to a different page from the page I'm on, I can use an absolute URL. If I'm already on this page and I want to go up, so if I was right here on http://www.murach.com/index/html, and I wanted to go over to the images file, I could go to /images/logo. All right. So the difference is, starting with an HTTP, it's a full address. Starting with either a slash or a dot is a partial address. So with a partial address, you're already there. It's kind of like you're already at the house, but you're just changing the room you're in. Whereas starting with HTTP, HTTPS, or FTP allows you to go to a new house. Not a great example, but hopefully you get that. All right. Let's look at an A tag, which is an anchor tag. And I'm going to take this, all the stuff that's in here. I'll leave it there. That's fine. So once upon a time, we went to Rankin Technical College for an adventure. All right. So notice, come on, what is going on here? We didn't save. So notice that Rankin Technical College is underlined, and when I click there, it changes the page that's currently here to Rankin Technical College's page. I can click back and go back again. If I want that to open up in a brand new window, which is what I do want now, okay, when I do this, I come in here and I say target equals underscore blank, I think it is. I think I can also put that into quotes. It's either underscore blank or underscore new. I don't really remember. All right. So the difference is when I run this one, looks just the same. No difference. But notice here the page I'm on. It says simple website. If I click here, it's loading a new page. See that? So that's the difference. So I don't have a back button anymore, but I can switch to my other page. So let's look at this. It's an A tag, A for anchor. There's the beginning of the A tag. There's the end of the A tag. The A tag requires an href, a hypertext reference. Where do you want to go to? I'm going to a full URL here. I want it to open up in a new window, and I want the text that's highlighted to be Rankin Technical College. That's it. You should never, whatever you want to have highlighted, it should be something meaningful. People who put like click here to see a neat picture, and they put the word here is what's underlined. You don't do that. That's not what you should do. Now, in later chapters, we'll talk about how you can take this and use what are called pseudo classes to change the coloring, get rid of the underline, etc. I don't think we do that here, though. I think that's in a later chapter. All right. There's some examples. Notice again, our search engine optimization guidelines say we shouldn't use things like click here. All right. Let's talk about an ordered list and an unordered list. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two of them just so you can see both of them. So I'm going to take all of the code that we have. And again, I'm going to comment out everything that's in here. So that's all commented out, and again, just to prove it to you, when I put this up, there's nothing there now. That's what I want. All right? And I'm going to make two lists. I'm going to give a P tag here, and it's going to say, here is an unordered list. Now, notice I'm putting my text from my paragraphs on separate lines. You, of course, don't have to do that. All right. Unordered list, UL. Starts with a UL, ends with a UL. In between, we've got LIs for list item. All right, so let's say bread. Maybe this is a grocery list. Let's put in about 6 items here. Not bread 6 times. We'll have bread, potatoes, laundry detergent, Kleenex, juice, and I don't know, green beans. Now there is no real order to this. I can go and buy these in any order. So what you'll see is when I do this, there's my list. And you'll notice that everything has got a dot before it because that's the default designation that we use in an unordered list. All right. On the other hand, if I wanted an ordered list, all I have to do is change the ULs to OLs. But I'm going to make another one here. I'm going to make an ordered list right below this. All right. And this will say here is an ordered list. An ordered list assumes that there is some kind of order to it. So they are OLs instead of ULs. But I'll change the stuff in here. I'll put in my family. My wife, me, my oldest daughter, my middle daughter, my youngest daughter, and the dog. All right? And now watch what happens in here. All right? So the ordered list has some semblance of order to it. It's numbered. I can change these designations. Instead of a dot, I can put a square or I can put a circle that's not filled in. I can even put my own thing in there if I want to. Here, I can have numbers. I can have alphabetic letters in lowercase, alphabetic letters in uppercase, Roman numerals in lowercase, Roman numerals in uppercase. But regardless of the one I'm using, it's UL or it's OL, beginning and end, and between there are LI for all of my list items. Hopefully that's at least as good, if not better, than what the author just showed. All right? All right, let's bring in an image. So I'm going to find some kind of an image. Easiest way to do that, of course, is to go out to Google and go to images, and I don't know, puppy. Okay, and I'm going to find, I want one that's not real big. I don't want to talk about resizing images, etc. now. This one looks fine. All right, see that? I'm going to save that, so I'm going to right mouse click on it, choose Save Image As, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm just going to call this puppy.jpg. We're going to talk a lot more about images later, but again, if you notice, it's 150 by 200. Remember that. So, I'm going to comment out both of my lists that I just made. And I'm going to add my image. Now, when you add an image, you need source, okay? And that source is going to be the name of your file, so that was puppy.jpg. All right, you should also have an alt tag, which is for alternative text, a cute little puppy. All right? Now, that's all I put in there, so let's look and see now what's in here. Not there, back here. And there's our puppy. Okay? Now, let's suppose that I spelled this wrong. I only put one Y in there. So it says puppy. There is no file named puppy. But watch what happens with this text. See that? We get a little symbol, and we get our alt tag, a cute little puppy. All right? Now I'm going to put that back. This also helps with a screen reader, so somebody who's blind is going to get a cute little puppy. Now, I can also put in here, and I'm putting it on another line just so you can see it, width equals 150, height equals 200. I can put the dimensions in there. All right. Now, is that going to change anything? Not a thing. But it lets the browser know exactly how much room 150 pixels of width and 200 pixels of height to put aside. What some people do, and this is not a good thing, is they say, hey, I can rescale this. So I can make that 300 and I can make that 400. All right? So they do that and see what they've done. Now you say, well, that doesn't look bad. Yeah, you can do that. But there are tools that you can use to scale things, and that's how you should actually scale. You shouldn't be scaling by changing the numbers that actually exist with this. You should keep their real numbers there. Whoop, that was 200. Let's assume for a second that I did want to make that smaller, maybe 100 by 100 or something like that. All right? Well, what I can do is I can go out to a website that's called makeathumbnail.com. All right? And I choose my file, and it's on the home it's on my home screen, and the file is going to be that puppy.jpg. All right? And I'm telling it that I want it to be 100 by 100. All right? So it's done that. Morning. And there it is, and it's now smaller, and I'm going to save this image to my desktop, and I'm going to save this as TN-puppy, which stands for thumbnail, because I just created a thumbnail. All right? So now I can go in, and after I put in my main image, put a couple line breaks, and I'll put here a cute little puppy thumbnail. And now it's 100 by 100. So what you can see when you look at this, all right, that's how you should resize something. You should use built-in software to actually change it. So what I showed you is a better way of doing it. All right, we're almost finished with this chapter. They give you their own copy of using this. Now, there are different kinds of fonts. There's JPEGs, not fonts, there's different kinds of images. There are JPEGs, GIFs, and PNGs. There's actually even other kinds than that. All right? GIF is used for very simplistic things. And what I mean by that, it's used for things like logos, etc., that don't have a lot of color. You can do simple animation with GIFs. You can do a few things with them. If you need a lot of clarity and a lot of color and a lot of specificity, you use JPEGs, typically. Now, PNG is meant to give you the best of both JPEG and GIF. We're going to have a whole chapter, or we'll talk about it a lot more in future chapters. Always use an alt attribute. All right, it says for image used for decoration, make an alt attribute for no value. So if it was this, if that's a logo, I might want to put alt equals, San Joaquin Valley Town Hall logo, for example. But if it meant nothing, if it was just some red there, I wouldn't put some red, for a screen reader. That would be kind of silly. All right, so this is what they have you start building in here. I don't want to use their example because it's already in there. All right, we'll create our own. But I think what we'll do is we'll wait until we're through about at least chapter 6. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, so that's it for the end of chapter 3.